Welcome to the live stream here on Saturday. What day is it? June 24th? All right, I guess I'll do one more. Well, next month, no. Next Saturday will be the 1st of July. So, I told you last week that I was going to go see Asteroid City. And I saw Asteroid City. And then I saw there's an ads for the No Hard Feelings. And so, I went and saw that too. So you're going to get two reviews on this thing. Now, I'm not a reviewer. I'm not a film reviewer. I find even watching film reviews kind of tiresome after you've seen a movie, because every film reviewer has to give you a rundown of the story so you understand what's going on. And I just find those dreadfully boring. So before we get too much into it, let me just say hello to the chat that's out there. Oh, I didn't have my chat open here. Hit OK, and then turn it on. There it goes. And then view, and there are two chats there. Hello, Rio Proedros and DSR Moo. Hello, how are you doing? Okay, so Asteroid City. I'm going to have to give a little bit of a background on Asteroid City to explain what it even is. So what Asteroid City, if you haven't seen, is the latest Wes Anderson movie. I made a short kind of making fun of the color grading of Asteroid City. What's up, White Rhino VFX? How you doing? From San Antonio. So speaking of San Antonio, this movie essentially, I think what's a little misleading about the trailers, I mean, I don't want to say misleading is a bad thing, but really what Asteroid City is, it's a movie about a production of a play called Asteroid City. And so there's sort of a meta theme in it. So that there's the writer, who's played by Edward Norton, who's writing this play about something or another. And it's kind of played out in a movie version of Asteroid City. Again, not to go too spoilers, it's hard to spoil anything about these movies. First of all, if you've probably heard online, if you saw any reviews, if you have any interest in this movie, Asteroid City, it is a very Wes Anderson movie. So it's been said over and over again that it's the most Wes Anderson movie of Wes Anderson movies. So if you're not a fan of Wes Anderson movies, I would say probably skip it. It's not the movie that's going to turn people into Wes Anderson fans. I'm not a huge Wes Anderson fan. I haven't seen all his bibliography, all his filmography, but I do, since Grand Budapest Hotel, I've kind of have a love affair with him in that I like Wes Anderson's approach toward, there's a facade, sort of a artifice of Wes Anderson that I've grown to kind of really appreciate. And it's on spades here. Like, there is a lot of going on. I watched a little bit of French Dispatch, and it felt cloying to me, and I didn't get through French Dispatch. So I don't love Wes Anderson to the point where I watch everything he makes. I watched, to me, it's French Dispatch was just too dry and too much fresh Wes Anderson isms in it. But I really enjoyed Asteroid City, and I've been going through. I always like to look at other reviewers. After I watch a movie, the first thing I do is go look at other reviewers, because I kind of have my own opinion. I want to take what other people see what other people are saying, and maybe see what I'm missing and what I'm not. A lot of people didn't like Asteroid City. I've been getting the sense that a lot of reviewers were very kind of down on it. I really enjoyed it all. My only gripe with the film is it didn't leave me with a lasting impression. I enjoyed the film thoroughly, I think more from a directing standpoint, more from an acting standpoint, and more from just kind of watching all the pieces come together. And I don't know about you guys. When I go to a movie, oftentimes I get that wonderment feeling of, oh, I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. I'm always just, I kind of turn my brain off necessarily as far as like, I guess in movies like this, I turn my brain off as far as trying to figure out what the plot's going to be. Just let the plot happen to me. Whereas, superhero movies tend to, I guess I tend to I'm trying to put this as politely as possible. In certain superhero movies, I tend to try to figure out the plot, or I can kind of see that where the plot is going. I know, hey, we're in the third act. Reason I'm bringing that up is because I'm thinking about Across the Spider-Verse, where I was getting very annoyed because I didn't realize it was a part one. I thought it was a part. So I thought it was a full movie, so I was getting annoyed. Like, how are they going to wrap this up in the next 30 minutes? Because I know we're moving. Okay, never mind. Asteroid City for me, it felt I didn't have a sense of trying to figure it out. I just felt like I just wanted to have the movie wash through me, right? And I just enjoyed the performances. I enjoyed where everything was going with it. The children's performances are really funny and they're really hilarious. There's three girls that is part of the main character. So if you want a little bit of a plot synopsis, basically, these guys show up at this place called Asteroid City for a junior scientist event where all the geniuses and all the student geniuses are there to present their projects. And then an alien comes and visits, and then they're quarantined there for a few weeks. But that's just the subplot of the Asteroid City. Outside of that layer is what's happening around the play, and there's not a whole lot. I mean, it's not like a humongous like Otherworld. We do have a little glimpse of the writer, how he came up, or not how he came up with it, but like some of the writing for it. And then we have a little bit of a glimpse of the director and his relationship, and then we have a little glimpse of the main character, Jason Schwartzman, trying to figure out what his character is about. What does it all mean? And the end kind of like, well, I don't really know what it all means. It means something. The thing about watching the movie, though, I mean, I did think a lot about how, I don't want to sound pretentious and go ahead and put your air at your butt. It is there is a essence of pure cinema in it, and by pure cinema, I don't mean. I mean, it's Wes Anderson starts divorcing from theatrical, like reality-based, not reality-based, but naturalistically based cinema, right? Natural cinema being like recording a performance, kind of like every other movie, natural cinema. Whereas pure cinema seems to be more like using the artifice of the medium itself. I mean, I feel like Wes Anderson could be a absolute darling of like French New Wave theory. I mean, I'm not that deep in all this stuff, so I'm kind of going, playing around with some ideas here. But there is an artifice to the Wes Anderson movie that I appreciate, and I enjoy seeing it, and I enjoy seeing the creation. I was thoroughly entertained the whole way through. I saw it in a theater that was relatively favorable toward Wes Anderson. There was one woman who was laughing throughout, which I made my experience much better, honestly, to see someone laughing at the movie. The movie is very funny. If you're a Wes Anderson fan, I think it's very funny. I feel like it can be it can get a little too hard if you're not a big Wes Anderson fan. All right. I saw one person kind of talking about, and I guess we're going to kind of go into a little bit of spoiler territory. I mean, it's hard to spoil a movie like this because it's not so much a plot-driven movie as it is more kind of the quirkiness of all the characters. I saw somebody was saying there's an allegory to kind of COVID lockdown, essentially. I see where you can draw the parallels. I feel like that's such a small part of the movie, though. And what she was saying was that when the alien visits, the entire area is quarantined for essentially a week. And there are scenes in there between the two, what would you consider the two leads. Jason, not Jason, whoever the lead is, I forget the name of the lead. And then also Scarlett Johansson. Arsenio is asking, who's Margot Robbie playing? Margot Robbie plays the wife of the main character who dies off screen in the play. However, she has a bit scene toward the end of the movie where she tries to help explain like what the meaning is, and it's to be honest, like it's like it's wrapped in an enigma kind of a thing. It's the meaning is something you have to think a lot harder about. I just don't. I mean, that again, I was talking about the gripe I had with this movie was it felt like it just didn't. It it didn't have that lastingness to me. I enjoyed everything about it. I enjoyed every minute, but like it felt empty. Like there was nothing deep or for me to understand. And it might be there, and there are some hidden, it's some cryptic kind of cinema techniques involved. Like the whole. There is a one point where where basically the director is standing in front of and this is one of those flashback scenes where the director is trying to figure out how to make this play work. So he visits an acting workshop, which is led by William Dafoe. And it's sort of like that whole, like the method acting class, right? And in the class are all basically going to be the future stars of this play. And he says, I'm trying to make a play about characters that are asleep. And then all the characters are, like, okay, so let's everyone pretend like you're asleep, and it's going to act like you're asleep. And they're all sleeping. And then Jason Schwartzman, right? And he pops up and says, and okay, spoilers. I mean, I feel dumb even saying it, but he says, you can't wake up unless you fall asleep. And in the whole class, you can't wake up unless you fall asleep. You can't wake up unless you fall asleep. And they're all kind of chanting this, and you can't wake up unless you fall asleep. And like, okay, there's probably some deeper meaning in that, and I guess, okay. But it doesn't, I don't know, maybe I'm just dumb. It doesn't just quite, I'm not intrigued enough to really dig that deep into it, and I'm not super, I don't quite understand what they're trying to go for. So I feel like the message just feels a little bit muddied toward the end. I stuck around for the entire credits just to hear the music of it all. Again, I liked it a lot. I would give it, like, if out of 10, I'd probably give it an 8, but very, very enjoyable. I would definitely recommend seeing it if you're a Wes Anderson fan. If you're not, don't bother. It's not really worth it. Let's see what Veritimo says. Asteroid City sure wasn't as fantastic as French Dispatch. It's nice to watch, but I agree, so empty. French Dispatch was so human. Well, maybe I need to finish French Dispatch. I guess you should check it out. I also loved the instinctive use of black and white in French Dispatch. Yeah. Wes Anderson is a mise-en-scene master. Yeah, pretty much. And some comments here. Account for comments. The best film I watched this week: The Cook, The Thief, His Wife, and Her Lawyer. I realized why Anderson's style never appealed to me after watching that. Let's check that one out. Who directed that? Let's look that one up real quick. And then we'll talk about the next movie I watched. So I watched that on Thursday night. And again, I had a lot of fun with that. That is Peter Greenaway, and it's from 1989. Cool. So I'm going to check that out. At Le Hollandaise Gourmet Restaurant, every night is filled with opulence, decadence, and gluttony. But when the cook, a thief, his wife, and his lover all come together, they unleash a shocking torrent of sex, food, and murder and revenge. Ooh, okay. I should probably put that on my list. That seems pretty cool. All right, cool. Arseny, I would rather pay $15 to see how Wes Anderson apartments look like. Well, maybe. So the thing is, honestly, probably the best thing honestly, is the movie subscription. I've been an advocate and a fan of the movie subscription model since it came out way back in MoviePass. And MoviePass was an idea that, they were trying to do something, but the problem was they were outside. MoviePass was back in the day, you'd pay like $10 a month, and they would buy you a ticket to whatever movie you would want in whatever theater you want, right? And so the idea with their business model was to essentially sign up as many people as possible. And then they could basically leverage that to get cheaper tickets from the movie theater owners themselves and say, hey, we've got a block of, 100 million people, and they all want to see movies. So give us a discount on the movie ticket, and then we'll be able to, and then they could play the game, because obviously not everybody goes to movies every single week. People buy a $10 movie pass, and they may not use it for like 3 or 4 months, and the movie comes out, they'll, use it. And it was wonderful for about a year. But the problem is they could never ever get enough people to sign up, and the movie theater's like, no, I'm not gonna give you a break. You're paying full price. I'm not gonna, and so basically they imploded, and I was done with them when they started putting more and more restrictions. So like then it was like, oh, you can only see one movie, one movie a week, or one movie, or you couldn't see the movie twice, or you couldn't see. And the thing that broke the back of Movie Pass was when you couldn't see. I was trying to see the movie Mission Impossible. I think it was like 4 or something like that, the one with Clark Kent. Right, I was trying to see that movie, and I could not ever get a ticket through MoviePass because it was never available. They're like, oh, but you can see Slender Man, and I'm like, no, I want to see Mission Impossible. I don't want to see Slender Man. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm done with that. So AMC, I was part of the AMC for a while because AMC had a similar program, and I was like, oh, it's like $24 a month. You can go see any movie you want, and I was part of AMC until COVID killed everything. And then that was done, so I decided to switch over to Regal because I felt like my AMC theater was nice, but the selection was always a little bit lesser than the Regal. So I'm now part of the Regal. But anyhow, the reason why I love the subscription model is that it takes all the downside of seeing a movie out of the equation. Like there's no reason not to see a movie. If you want, I could go see. There's no reason not to ever take a chance on a movie. Right? So I can go see whatever movie, and if it sucks, oh well, whatever, who cares? And more importantly, if it sucks, is I can talk on these streams. I can talk about it. But if it's great, that's why I love the movie like subscription model for my personality and for what I do. It's a natural fit. Now I get, a lot of people may not, they don't love movies the way I do, so they don't want to see a bad movie theater. I'd have no problem seeing a bad movie in theater because I didn't spend any extra money on it. That's why I love the Movie Pass. Speaking of which, okay. So, anyhow, what were comments before I go on to the next part here? Wes Anderson's mise-en-scene is like a drawing. He's not a master of mise-en-scene at all. Spielberg, Hawks are mise-en-scene masters. Well, mise-en-scene, Wes Anderson, I would say, is much more about painting. He frames his shots more like a painting. Like, there's a lot of points in this movie where it did feel like Asteroid City. It did feel like I forget the name of the artist that did American Gothic. The farmer and his wife. He constructs his shots in a way that's very, Americana and little Norman Rockwell. No, Norman Rockwell didn't do American Gothic, but he constructs his shots like that. And I think that's what we're saying. I think you kind of not abuse, but kind of sort of take the mise-en-scene to the first level. His toilet better be in the center of the bathroom. That's great. Wes Anderson's bathroom, his toilet is always in the center. Everything's centered. Alamo Draft House is a summer pass at the moment. That's cool. I just don't live near an Alamo Draft House. I would love to do that. By the way, we are big fans, and my friends and I are fans of the Neil Breen movies, and Neil Breen's latest movie, Cade, is coming to Santa Ana soon. The problem is I don't know if I'm available when it comes out. I don't even know what date it's supposed to be out, but it's sometime in July, and I don't know if I'm available in July. I think my friends are going to go to the Santa Ana screening of Cade, because you got to see a Neil Breen movie in theaters. It's got to be an experience. Who knows? And last one before I go on, talk about No Hard Feelings. Account comment says, Anderson's artistic style reminds my brain that the film was a set, while the style of the other movie that he was talking about sucked me in and made me feel like people are living in it despair. That's what I meant by like the pure cinema aspect of Anderson's artistic style. It's cinema for cinema's sake. It's not a naturalistic approach, which it works. Like I don't think I would ever do a version. I would never be Wes Anderson. Like I would watch Wes Anderson movie, but I would never take anything from Wes Anderson's style and use it in my own approach. There's some elements I might take, like some sort of dialogue. There's some. So another thing I want to just another observation. He has a couple lines in there that are very like they're. He writes a couple lines of dialogues that feel very awkward. And it felt like a first draft kind of an awkwardness. Now, it's deliberate. It's obviously deliberate, right? But it's like, I'm trying to think of how to even mimic it. It'd be like, okay, so that's what the president has said. He would say, like, that's what the president said, as mentioned in his note right here. Like these weird, like double back sentences. I don't know how better to explain it. It's like an awkward. It's one direction and then doubles back and then repeats itself, kind of a sense. I don't know what better way to explain that. But I noticed there's like three or four lines. Well, at least I noticed two of them in there that were like that, and if they felt is just an interesting choice. It made me chuckle every time I heard those lines because they felt so darn awkward, but they felt artificial. You know, it was a very artificial. Everything about the movie is artificial. It's all artifice, right? Wes Anderson is nothing but artifice. But it's just something about the end of the. I mean, I enjoyed it all the way through, but it just doesn't have something that sticks with me. It doesn't quite have that the stickiness, right, to the film. Anyhow, so that's my thoughts on Asteroid City. Again, I would say see it. Just see it. You know, even if you're if you're a filmmaker, I think you should see it just because it's interesting. But if you're not, then you can pass it on that. So the other movie I watched was No Hard Feelings. I'm just going to look up Hard Feelings. I just want to look up some things about this movie so I can have some names to drop here. So No Hard Feelings, I did not know this movie was coming out. I had nothing to know about it, but then the media blitz hit. Jennifer Lawrence went on like Hot Ones, and she was on all over the place, and then people talking about it, you know, a lot of advertising, because this is, I would imagine, a relatively low budget studio film. Let's just look up how, I would say 50 million. It's one of those middle feelings budget. It's one of those mid budget movies that everyone's saying, how come they don't make many mid budget movies? So it's $45 million budget. Oh, pretty close. It is a story. So the plot of the story is based on a real like Craigslist posting. I watched Kermode talk about it, and he's like, "What's Craigslist?" Like, you Europeans, you British people don't know what Craigslist is. Us Americans, we know what Craigslist is. So Craigslist is just awful. Anyhow, so she lives in this town called Mohawk or whatever. I forget the name. It's like Nantucket kind of like beach city, right? And she is an Uber driver, and her car gets impounded, and she's just down on her luck. She needs money to pay off her mom's taxes on her mom's house that she owns. And so she sees this Craigslist advertisement saying, "Hey, do you want a new car? Then come and date our son. Our son who's like super shy, and he's super like sheltered and everything, and he doesn't get out. He doesn't drive a car. And but if you come and date her, you're looking for someone to date this my son here, then we'll give you this Buick, this old Buick." And she's like, "I need this job." So she goes and she eventually gets the job to date the boy. And she, but it's like, well, don't let him know that we're putting you on. You got to make this organic. So she tries to go and like tries to hook up with him at the animal shelter that he works at, which leads to some she comes on super strong, because she's supposed to be, like she's like, well, Jennifer Lawrence, she's an inner. I don't know how old Jennifer Lawrence really is. She's probably in her 30s sometime. She's playing like she's 32 or something like that, which she looks great. She still looks, I'm 40, so she looks great to me. Like I would not, to me, she looks like absolutely gorgeous. But like for a 19-year-old kid, which is the kid's real age, yeah, she's a little bit on the older side. So it is what it is. It is definitely a hard R comedy. I really enjoyed it. So just to get it off my chest here, I really liked it. I am so happy that I saw two movies that weren't superhero movies, that were just stories about people. And the great thing about this movie is Jennifer Lawrence is trying to date this nerdy kid, geeky kid who never kissed a girl, never been around women. He's super shy and all that. And the stakes of this movie are she can lose her house. It's not like, oh, if I don't date this woman, then the galaxy will collapse upon itself and the multiverse will end. No, it's just she will lose her house. And it's a great little drama comedy. It's a great little comedy that doesn't pull any punches. It goes all the way. I won't go through the rest of the plot of the story. It logically makes sense, and the movie ends in a very logical place. To me, I think the ending, it sags a little bit because all comedies, it's got a great premise, but, eventually you have to pay the piper. What's going to happen at the end, it kind of slows down toward the end. I was going to think about like the casting of Jennifer Lawrence, I think plays. So I do want to talk a little about the broader cultural relevancy of this film. Take it kind of a serious, I guess, look at it. Maybe bore you guys to death with my feelings about this. The So I saw one reviewer online complaining about the double standard in regards. So in the process trying to date the son, Jennifer Lawrence, she's 32, 33-ish. She's trying to date this 19-year-old. And one reviewer was saying, hey, there's a double standard. If it was a 32-year-old man trying to date a 19-year-old girl, that would be icky. And I agree. It's a double standard, but it's not a bad double standard. I'm fine with a 32-year-old trying to seduce a 19-year-old girl, a 19-year-old boy. A 32-year-old girl trying to seduce a 19-year-old boy. The sexes are not equal. They just aren't. And we cannot pretend that they are. So I can find comedy in a girl, in an older girl, and I want to say an older woman. She's not really, she's not cougar age. She's, mid 30s, trying to date a younger of age boy. I think that the comedy is there. I have no problem laughing at it. Yes, a middle-aged man trying to seduce a 19-year-old girl is not going to have the same kind of comedy. It's going to be a completely different dynamic. To me, it's not a double standard at all. It's just that would be a biopic of DiCaprio. DiCaprio has a hard limit, right? Like if you're 19, you're out. You're no more. But there is comedy in the fact that this girl who's a little bit more, experienced, she's not slutty, although, well, yeah, I think so. What I really wanted to get to was I was wondering, because the role sort of reminds me of something that Amy Schumer did back. Amy Schumer's movie. I'm trying to remember her Trainwreck. So there's a little bit of hints of Trainwreck, and I'm wondering if this was made like 5 years ago, Amy Schumer would have played the role of Jennifer Lawrence. Now, there's a very different dynamic. Maybe I'm just feeling a little older. Whereas Amy Schumer's Trainwreck really felt more like a train wreck, like a slutty train wreck, and sort of more repulsive. And Jennifer Lawrence doesn't play that. She plays more like an average girl who just can't commit. And there's a lot of guys, the whole thing starts off with the guy towing her car, and she had a relationship with him, but she kind of bailed on him. I just didn't get the kind of like the gross sluttiness from Jennifer Lawrence's performance. It felt a lot more just like, an average girl down on her luck. It didn't feel overly sexualized, if that makes sense. I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm a different place in my life. I saw these movies because the other Trainwreck kind of reminded me of a girl I was trying to date, and maybe that's what it was. It felt more down to earth. I don't know. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but so that's what I felt about No Hard Feelings. It doesn't, to me. It plays a lot more down the middle than like Trainwreck or something like that. The pathos, I'm just seeing the trailer being played here over and over again. It does feature a lot of full frontal nudity from Jennifer Lawrence in a non-sexual way, and it's played for comedy. It's very funny. That scene is pretty darn funny. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I would recommend it just because it's a medium budget comedy. People would ask me, like, if I were to make a movie, what kind of movie would I make? I would make a movie like that, like No Hard Feelings. It's directed by Gene Stupnitsky, who I think made another movie that I really enjoyed, another kind of a sex comedy called The Good Boys. I really like Good Boys from 2019. That one was that's kind of a hard R comedy about these sixth grade boys ditch school to embark on an epic journey while carrying accidental stolen drugs, being hunted by teenage girls, and trying to make their way home for a long-awaited party. I really like that movie too. Those are the kind of movies I would make. They're not like super groundbreaking, hard-hitting dramas. They will not win Oscars, but I like those kind of movies. Shoot me. In movies like one of my favorite movies. Somebody was asking way earlier. I didn't hit it yet, but Wonder Boys is one of the movies that I just love because it's a small story about people, and those are the movies that make the most mark on me, are stories about people, not necessarily about things or actions or events, but about people and the interplay, the messiness of people. Anyhow, so that's my thoughts on No Hard Feelings. For the average movie viewer, I would say go out and see No Hard Feelings. I think that's a better movie. It's definitely a date movie. I think it's definitely somebody a date you could take a date to. Asteroid City? Don't take a date unless you both love Wes Anderson movies. So there you go. All right, let's take a look at your comments. And Benjamin Dover says, in real life, nobody has a problem with age gaps. So the truth is, I grew up with age gap. My mom is 20 years younger than my dad. So it doesn't, I'm looking at my life. I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to have an age gap. But it's, again, to me, the 30-year-old girl going after the guy is not the same thing as a 30-year-old guy going after a girl. It's just, yeah, it's a double standard. I'm fine with the double standard. I'm totally cool with the double standard. It's it's a different dynamic, and that's where that's where you can play comedy off of. I think I've said this before, but one of the most uncomfortable things is watching a movie, watching Some Like It Hot with Zoomers. Yeah, that's I love that movie, Some Like It Hot. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, Some Like It Hot. And the humor of that movie, Zoomers don't get that. Zoomers would really have a problem with that movie. Anyhow, Account for Comments says, I remember how I Met Your Mother. We men and women didn't have much problems with Barney 30s hooking up with young adult women. I prefer to see human relationships in IRL than moral sex education. Sure. Yeah. What are we discussing today? I just talked about the movies. All right. Have I finished watching Barry on HBO? Yes, I did. I talked about it in a couple weeks. I am in love with Barry. Everyone was saying how the fourth season, I was reading the reviews, and the reviews were like, oh, the fourth season is so dark and depressing. Like, I didn't think so. I thought it was I think it's more of a satire. I don't see Barry as necessarily, like I said, somebody was commenting about, the article was commenting about how it reflects how easy it is to get a gun in America. Because Barry goes into basically a Walmart and says, I need guns! And then he walks out with like a whole bunch of guns. And it's like, that's satire, people. Like, you can't go into a Walmart and just do that. Especially not in California, where Barry is set in California. So you could never do that. It's a satire. And it's a satire on this world where violence is kind of both extremely normalized and it's also kind of hidden underneath everything. I mean, the show is satire. It's amazing. I love Barry, and I love Bill Hader for Barry. I just think Bill Hader is amazing. He's my man crush. I'm not gay, but I would make an exception for Bill Hader. Sorry, I'm not. I'm not. I'm just not. I'm just saying, if it helps get my career going, maybe I'll do it. Anyhow, all right. Let's see what else the comments are going here. You guys are arguing about the age gap thing. I think it also depends on, like, a 50-year-old dating a 30-year-old is not the same thing as a 30-year-old dating a 19-year-old. Well, a 40-year-old dating a 19-year-old is a little different. Once you get older and older, the relative, a 70-year-old dating a 50-year-old probably okay too. So you guys go ahead and keep arguing about the age gap. Yeah, my dad was 50 when I had me. 55-ish, and I think my mom was 36 when she had me. So I'm a product of age gap too. So I mean, I lived with an older father. It's definitely shaded the way I view my world. Like I always wonder what my life would be like if I had a normal age dad, right? And also in regards to the way I have siblings. My siblings are much older than me. From my dad's side, my dad's oldest sibling was like 30 years older than me, I think. Maybe more than that, 30 or 40 years older than me. Because I think my dad had his first son really young. Anyhow, but my that sibling has passed, unfortunately. Passed when I was like 16 years old. What else? Definitely a film to watch on TV, not theater, at least for me. I would say No Hard Feelings is definitely cable fodder, streaming fodder. It's definitely something that's very comfortable to watch at home, very comfortable. But I like going to theaters and being around other people and hearing other people laugh. There's a couple parts in you know, again, I don't. Seeing a comedy in a room of people, and it wasn't a super full theater, but a couple of times hearing people's like, "Oh no, you don't," like, "Oh no," like, Jesus Christ, I can't believe, because she comes on really, really strong to this poor boy, you know, she really lays it heavy on him. Just seeing that and feeling the other people's reaction to it, it makes it better. It adds a layer of just fun to the movie. Again, you could probably see it in streaming, and absolutely probably would work pretty well. And then you could always sit and pause on those nude scenes, because that's what's going to happen online. Let's be honest here. I remember I saw The Wedding Singer at the theater, and there's usually in the theater they don't want you to react to you're supposed to applaud or laugh, but there's one point in the show where they were there, they were whipped up enough with emotionally. So this one lady shouted out, like, "Oh," or I think it was like, "You get," like, "All right, girl, you go get him," like this. You got really, because the emotion was so, there. And she yelled out in affirmation, and the audience just loved it, and they all laughed. And I love that moment. Sometimes you get whipped up to that point. I admit, at home, when I'm at home, I just get into that mood. Not necessarily getting into like drinking or edibles or anything like that. Sometimes I get in the mood where I will just start yelling at my TV. And I remember, of all things, okay, we're gonna break it out here. Of all things, it's The Music Man. The Music Man. I was getting whipped up toward the end of that movie because I was so in love with Marion at that point. And I was just yelling at Robert Preston. Like, you get that, Robert Preston. You will not find a better woman than Marion right there. You will not find anyone better to be with than Marion. You get back there. You get back there, Harold Hill. You get back there and you get with Marion. Because you will never. And I was worked up. I was so worked up that night. And I hadn't drinking. I hadn't had anything to drink. I was clean and sober that night. I was just so emotionally wrapped up in The Music Man that I was yelling at Robert Preston to get back. And he did. He listened to me. So I obviously had an effect on his opinion of that movie. So, any other Wes Anderson type movies I would recommend as a cinema style? Are there any other Wes Anderson cinema style movies out there? Night of the Hunter. Right? If you want to go, it's not in the style of Wes Anderson movies, but it has that sort of the pure cinema, at least in the set design. Like, The Night of the Hunter is one of those movies. I don't know. I don't think Wes Anderson's necessarily inspired by Night of the Hunter, but there's so much cool stuff happening in Night of the Hunter. And again, we're talking like that's a 70-year-old movie, but there's that. If you were to ask me Wes Anderson's type of movie, I don't know. It's kind of hard to make that connection, but to me, it's like the visual style is kind of similar, but not in any way like Wes Anderson. Paddington, is that somebody suggested? I don't think Paddington doesn't remind me of Wes Anderson. Paddington is sort of more along the lines of a storybook, I guess. Yeah, maybe Paddington would work. Paddington was obviously very good, but Paddington is as Mad Max Fury Road director, right? Isn't that no, I'm taking it back. That's Good Feet. Paddington was who is he? Who's directed Paddington? Paddington film. There it is, directed by Paul King. Okay, yeah. I'm thinking of Happy Feet. Happy Feet was Mad Max Fury Road. Any preconceived opinions on Indy 5? I felt like the internet just waiting to trash the movie. I feel like I'm going to like it in the way I like Indy 4. I'm definitely going to go see it because I'm probably going to trash it. The thing is, like, I had the issue kind of with, I liked The Flash. I don't like Ezra Miller. I thought the Ezra Miller did a good job in The Flash, and I enjoyed The Flash. But I feel like a lot of the internet is just waiting to trash The Flash, and The Flash is not doing well financially. It's, I think all the negative press has kind of torn the movie down. It's dropped like huge amounts of money. It's a bomb. It's financially, it's just not going to go anywhere. Speaking of, that's a movie I should have my friends watch. Is the Spirit. I remember when that movie came out way back. I was still doing filmmaker IQ reviews on YouTube, and I gave that a high praise because I thought that movie was hilarious. I thought it was a freaking funny movie, but everyone hated The Spirit. They just hated it. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was an awesome movie. I should make my friends watch that. That'd be a good one for us to watch. Anyhow, so the internet hates Ezra Miller. I get that. I don't like him myself. But I thought his performance was pretty good, and I thought the movie was not bad. Was not great, but it's not bad. I enjoyed some of the pathos of the movie. People keep calling it a mess. Okay, a little bit, but to me, it felt more cohesive than a lot of the movies I've seen. But Indiana Jones 5, people are dissing the crap out of Fleabag. And I don't quite, I don't quite understand why. Because I know she wrote, I think her sin was writing some stuff for like Star Wars and adding some unnecessary feminist angles to Star Wars. I think it was, wasn't it the Rogue One where she plays the robot? And she plays it kind of as a man-hating robot or some nonsense, or I don't know. Phoebe Waller-Bridge. So there's a lot of hatred toward Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I absolutely loved Fleabag. I think that show is wonderful. It's really, really well done. And I think people that hate Phoebe Waller-Bridge for her feminist views should watch Fleabag, because I don't think she takes the feminist views very I think she recognizes kind of how stupid and nasty someone can get really bad. So I like Fleabag. I felt when I was watching, I was like, God, this character is absolutely awful. Like, I hated the character Fleabag, as I think you're supposed to, because her name is Fleabag. She's a despicable person. The second season sort of gives her a little bit more growth and a little more something to be interested about her. But I thought the show was fantastic. Now, would you watch Fleabag and say that woman needs to write like Lara Croft Tomb Raider? No, that doesn't quite. I don't quite make that jump, and maybe that's why people are angry at her. So I will see Indiana Jones, and I will I'll either go with the crowd or I will go with my own opinion. I mean, I guess with Flash, I've been known to go an opposite opinion of the major popular internet on there. Yeah, Benjamin Dober says Fleabag was very unique. I really disliked the characters. Yeah, I know. That's the thing. You hate them. Like, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is despicable in that show. She's awful. You're not maybe I don't understand. Maybe I'm getting it wrong, but I thought you're not supposed to identify with her because her name is Fleabag. It seems to me a cue. You're not supposed to like this person. It's kind of like people like unironically thinking that American Psycho is like a cult figure hero. Like, no, he's awful. He's a terrible human being. Same thing with Fleabag. That's kind of the point. And that's why I thought it was so like charming and interesting of a show. It's kind of funny in the movie theaters. Oh, I want to talk about this real quick. But in the movie theater, Amazon is running a commercial where they show villains come in all shapes and sizes, and they show Homelander from The Boys, and then they show Olivia Colman from Fleabag as like the worst villain or something like that. Anyhow. Account for Comments says, I said this before, Indy is great because he is agile, quick thinking, and excellent fighter. How well do they capture that with foreign acting in stage? I know. Who knows? The films live or die by Ford acting, not by anything else. Yeah, I think so. And I think the fun thing about Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones, it's literally an adventure. It's like the whole point of Indiana Jones was to recapture the serials of the 1930s, right? It starts with the movie with that big, Paramount Mountain changes into the mountain, but it's all the 1930s style, the serials and the, Indiana Jones is literally a video, almost like a video. Well, this exists before video games. It's like a video game avatar, but it's part of the to me, it's always been part of the adventure of being around relics and the mystery and learning about ancient societies and booby traps. Booby traps is always a thing with Indiana Jones. Oh, you got to have booby traps. Anyhow, somebody was saying this: Oppenheimer back to back. What order? Edibles optional. um, I would feel that. I think that's a good question. I would think you'd want to go with. Depends on how long you want the edibles. I think the edibles are probably better for Barbie. I think Oppenheimer first, but Oppenheimer might leave you in too like depressed because Nolan says it's kind of a horror movie, right? Um, maybe Barbie's a lighter fare. I would imagine so, but I think Barbie's definitely for the edibles. Oppenheimer, maybe you can watch that sober. Yeah, so I unfortunately I cannot do an Oppenheimer Barbie back to back movie. I would love to. I would absolutely love to, but I'm doing probably two shows that day. No, I'm doing a show one of those days. I think it's the 21st of July. My birthday's on the 22nd, so I probably could see it on Thursday night. But no, I don't know. Depends if I have a show on Thursday night or not. But I know I have a show on Friday, and I have two shows on Saturday, which is my birthday. So I get to spend my entire birthday at the theater playing Little Mermaid. So I probably have to break it up into Barbie, and then I'll probably see Oppenheimer I'll probably see Barbie first, and then Oppenheimer the next week, like on a Monday at the IMAX. I can probably get better tickets. I'm definitely going to see Oppenheimer in IMAX for sure. I'll definitely try to do that. Why watch The Flash with that guy's behavior being? Well, it's like why watch any Marilyn Monroe movie? Why watch an Elizabeth Taylor movie? Sometimes there's one movie Marilyn and Me, I think, where they're talking about the making of the Prince and the whatever, where she goes to England to make that movie with what's his face, the British dude. I can't think of the names right now. But anyhow, there's a point where he looks at this, he's watching the dailies like, her behavior is absolutely atrocious, but you can't argue with the fact that she's great on screen. Right. Now, I'm not saying Ezra Miller is the kind of star talent that Marilyn Monroe is. I felt Marilyn Monroe on screen had an essence to her that was well beyond no, she's miles ahead of Ezra Miller. No, unquestioned. It's something about Marilyn on film where she was like you fell in love with her, and there's nothing you could do about it, right? Ezra Miller, he doesn't do that on film. He's good. He's just not. He's not Marilyn Monroe, right? So, I'm just saying that there are, and also the fact is, the movie's done. It's there. You can watch it if you don't want to watch it. You not watching it doesn't mean it will no longer exist. So you might as well watch it if you want, if you're interested in it. So that's what I think about Ezra Miller in that movie. So the kid in American Psycho became Patrick Bateman. I mean, the kid in American History X became Patrick Bateman. You know what? I need to watch American History X. I've not seen it. Not seen it. So Indy should have been recast and rebooted. George Lucas and SS planned. What is SS? SS. I don't know. Wasn't Ezra Miller guy raised in Hollywood as a child actor? I don't know enough about Ezra Miller. I don't really care about Ezra Miller. So I couldn't take Blonde 2022. The mom was too much. I don't remember seeing. I think I ever saw the Blonde 2022. Anyhow, let me look it up real quick. Blonde 2022, or Blonde. Oh, Anna de Armas. I never saw that, although I was kind of curious about it because it's so. Anna de Armas is like one of those, like, to me right now in my stage of life. Anna de Armas is the epitome of a perfect 10. As her face is just I can't take it. I can't take it. Oh, SS is Steven Spielberg. Gotcha. George Lucas and Steven Spielberg planned. I gotcha. Okay, yeah. Yeah, like, why couldn't Indiana Jones be like James Bond? I don't understand our society's obsession. I've talked about this before with Batman. I don't understand the obsession with canon. Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't care about canon. So what? You can have a million different James Bonds. That's cool. You can have different, different flavors of James Bond, and then you can sit around endlessly make videos about which James Bond is the best, or the different what does Connery bring to the character that Craig brings to the character, or that Timmy Dalton brings to the character, or what's the other guy, the one between. Anyhow, that's fun. That's great. That's cool. Why does it all have to be one freaking canon thing? I don't understand. I guess it's more of an American obsession with that. So we can have a million different takes on Batman. There are a million different takes of Batman. That's cool. I love that. So we don't need to have always. So why not? Why couldn't Indiana Jones be another, another example of different people playing Indiana Jones? It'd be kind of fun. I don't know, but again, maybe those movies just became so iconic that you could never do it. Why not? When I think the SS, I think the opposite. Yeah, I think the opposite of Spielberg. Yeah, it's true. Yep. In fact, I think Indiana Jones was fighting the SS pretty much in most of the movies, right? Anyhow. Oh, found a gem of a show on Netflix this week called Midnight Mass. Cool. Midnight Mass. Check that one out. Let's go Google that real quick so I can give you the synopsis of Midnight Mass. Let's go for it. Midnight Mass. An isolated... No, that's not it. Is that it? Yeah. An isolated island community experiences miraculous events and frightening omens after an arrival of charismatic, mysterious young priest. Ooh, there you go. I wasn't talking to you, Google. Dang it. So, check that out. I haven't watched the latest Silo, so I gotta check that one out too. So somebody earlier was asking me, why don't you make any more videos? Well, I did shoot one yesterday, so I'm doing one on what frame rate do you need to simulate reality? And so that's the one I'm going to. I shot it after been writing it for like a long time, and I finally said, you know what, good enough. Let's shoot this thing. And so I shot it, and I really, I think I'll try to get it out by next week is the plan on that. So, have I seen Blackberry? No. I know we talked about it, and I was going to look at it. I know, Red Letter Media did a whole video about the rise of the brand icon or brand biopic. And it's kind of interesting phenomenon. I think the argument against, or the argument for the brand, obviously because brands invoke a lot of interest in people. I am a business major, so I've always been interested in the business side of things. That's why I'm driven by that. Maybe the fact that people are, the people that work in offices kind of like watching movies about people working in offices, kind of a thing. So maybe that's why Blackberry. I love the movie Founder. I just enjoyed the crap out of that movie. But again, another brand biopic. But I wouldn't call it necessarily a brand biopic. Blackberry looks interesting. I don't even know, but I don't know where you can see it. Blackberry movie. Is it on? It's not on Netflix, is it? Where can I watch it? Why won't you tell me to? I can watch it on YouTube, Apple TV. You have to pay money for it. Amazon Prime. It's all $7 to watch it anywhere. Okay, well, maybe I'll pay $7. Am I currently signed out? Why am I signed out? Get me back in there. It's so weird. I'm in the process still of moving terabytes of information. I finally got my Google Drive under 50 terabytes, which is what my limit was. So now I'm just going to try to get most of it off before I just start shutting down the service as much as I can. But what is going on here? I got kicked out of my live streaming thingy. So let me get back in there. Hopefully you guys are still with me. Let's see, manage. Go away, close. Oh, let's see. Am I still streaming? Yeah, I'm still streaming. The comments still coming in here? You can watch almost everything at 13. And I am because I'm inside the ecosystem of the film world. I don't like to engage with anything that's what you call it, of the high seas. You know what I mean, right? I like to pay for my stuff, basically. Even if yeah, you don't have to pay for yeah, but I still like to pay for it. Oh, that's why I'm logged into. That's jeez, come on. That's so weird. Why is it doing that to me? All right, here we go. Let's see if I go to create. Yeah, for some reason it just locked me out. Or well, what happened was it switched to my personal Google account. So let's go back there. There we go. Now we're back. All right, cool. Let's go back to your comments. Let's see. BlackBerry doesn't exist because BlackBerry no longer brand. I don't think. I just don't think the. I don't think Air worked as a commercial for Nike because I didn't. Air was about a product so far removed that I don't think of modern day Nike the way I think of Air Jordans. I feel like Air Jordans were. Can you even still buy Air Jordans? Maybe that's how out of place I am. Air Jordan. Like for me, the movie Air was more about people working together. I guess you can still buy Air Jordan. Jesus Christ, original Nike original Air Jordan Chicago 1985 Dead Sox sneaker shoes, $72,000 on eBay. Yeah, well, somebody will pay for that. Somebody will buy it for that price. Jeez, man, oh man. Yeah, I guess you can buy Nike's Air Jordans for like $80 now, $120. You know, back in my day, we were like $100 for shoes. That's ridiculous. And now it's like, well, that's about a mid-price shoe, isn't it? The damn inflation. But anyhow, what did I miss here? Arseny says easy 120 FPS at 4K. Nah, you're wrong. That's too low. Then Vsauce made that video. I don't think he did. But the thing is, like a lot of Vsauce videos, people don't remember, so they need to be remade again. But yeah, no, 120 frames per second is actually not anywhere close to being enough to simulate reality. Not even close. I'll spoil it for you. It's in the neighborhood of 20,000 frames per second. Yeah. All right. I've got a question for you now that the reviews are up. Have you traveled overseas much for film? If so, and where? Nope. Never traveled anywhere. I've never shot a film outside of California. Well, I shot some stuff in Vegas, but that's it. That's the furthest I've gone. Truth Mystery says, he said it was the finest film ever made and makes Tarkovsky look like Ed Wood by comparison. He cried a bit too. It's very moving. Yeah, then the screening I saw of Asteroid City, my friend was saying, because I said I saw it, my other friend was saying, like, oh, why did you ask me? I'm a little upset. And I was telling him I was going to see No Hard Feelings. Like, well, I got hard feelings because you didn't ask me to go see. And my friend chimed in, like, oh, yeah, he went and saw Asteroid City. It was a screening with Wes Anderson. He came up and then he basically asked everyone, he bought hookers for everybody and cocaine for everybody in the audience. And then he wanted everyone to call him the Fantastic Mr. Fucks. So I thought it was pretty funny. Anyhow. For me, I've seen too many corporate BS in the daily life, so these kind of brand biopics really repelled me. On the hand, Glenn Ross and Informant strike a chord in my heart. Oh, Glenn Ross is not a corporate biopic. Glenn Ross it's literally its own thing. I've got originally I wanted to do call me cynical. I wanted to get some ladies in the room, women actresses, and I wanted them to reinterpret Glenn Ross. I wanted to gender swap Glenn Ross because I wanted to see what that dialogue would sound like coming out of a woman's mouth. Like I wanted to see how a woman would take that material and change it, and how it would work for women. So I never did that though. I was kind of curious. I just wanted to do it as like an acting experiment, but I never bothered doing it. I remember a story of that Michael Bay decided to make Pearl Harbor to please his critics, but he was so miserable in the first day of shooting that he gave up on that and he went full Michael Bay mode. Maybe, yeah. Don't ever like. That's the other thing. There's this one. So there are some YouTubers. I'm going to be personal here. There are some YouTubers that I feel I watch that are there are some female YouTubers I watch that I feel are like girlfriend replacements. What do I mean by that? Incredibly sexist term. No, they're girlfriend replacement. You know, like the experience of having a girlfriend, and not necessarily a girlfriend romantically, but even a girlfriend, just talk to you about whatever is on her mind. And there's something pleasing and relaxing about that. Some men find it incredibly irritating, you know, but if you're alone for a very long time, sometimes you want a feminine voice just kind of talking in your ear. So I discovered this one YouTuber. She talks about, like, she's a doctor of physics. And she talks about like a bunch of physical. She has a video about how string theory is messed up. I like her. She's very intelligent, and she's, you know, provides that sort of feminine voice in your ear kind of video. But she did a video about Gell-Mann amnesia theory. And if you don't know what that is, it's created by Michael Crichton. The idea is that you read an article in a newspaper about a topic that you're very intimately familiar with. Let's say frame rate. Let's say me reading an article about Avatar and frame rate. A topic that I'm very intimately knowledgeable. And then you read it and you're like, this author has no fucking clue what he's talking about. Has absolutely, this is completely idiotic. This person displays no understanding of the topic whatsoever. And then you turn the page and you read a story about, like, the Russia stuff going on right now. And you're like, oh, that's very interesting. Forgetting immediately that you just read an article that shows the journalist has no effing clue what he's talking about. And then you turn the page and then you're like, oh, wow, this is very intriguing. Something should be done here, right? You just forgot the fact that the media has no idea what they're talking about. Anyhow, she was talking about but the opposite of that. Sometimes you need to read an article, even if you're very familiar with the topic, and give the author a little leeway, right? I can read an article about frame rate, and if it gets 99% of the topic right, okay, cool. Let that 1% go. I get that constantly on my videos. I get it constantly. People watch my videos, especially like any video, and they're like, well, I'm surprised you didn't mention this esoteric detail that no one frickin', or a tiny, tiny, minuscule detail that only they knew. And it's like, I just decided not to go it. So unfortunately, that has been a burden on my writing new videos, because I'm always thinking, how do I answer the critics who are always going to be like, why didn't you mention Ted Case when you were talking about the Audion with Lee DeForest? Because, Ted Case is obviously more important than Lee DeForest. Or why didn't you talk about Gonzalez, who invented had a patent in Mexico, even though he never invented color television. He never created color television at the time, but he had a patent which has nothing to resemble the CBS version of color television. So unfortunately, that has shaded the way I write a lot, unfortunately, and it's reduced my output, obviously. So I'm trying to, but anyhow, her video was talking about, you know what? You need to just ignore some of those critics, because they're only there to kind of show that they're trying to self gratify themselves. They just want to be, hey, I know the subject too, and I'm going to try to get my word in here. Just let it go. 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 Don't let it bother you anymore. Sorry. Wingit says, I would watch a gender swap. Wouldn't you watch? It'd be curious. You're gender swapping Glengarry Glen Ross, not because it's just want to gender swap. You're doing it to explore the differences of the sexes, right? There is a difference. Male and female are not the same energy. Watching all women cast do Glengarry Glen Ross, like people like poo-hoo, like, oh, you're just gender swapping it. No, it's a totally different thing. I would love to see that. Anyhow, we'll see. Some playwrights like David Mamet and Sandra Beckett would sue you if you gender swapped a character. They wrote the genders for artistic reasons. I don't want people messing with it. It's fine. I'm doing it as an experiment. I wouldn't do it for like actual profit. I would just do it like in my studio. I would just have a bunch of female actresses do it. Just do it. There's nothing. Sue me. You could try. I'm taking the art and I'm adapting the art and seeing what happens of it. That's all I'm doing. MLK knows what I'm talking about. I don't know her name. I would say her name, but I don't remember her name. But I know Jenny Nicholson does that a lot. Serves that purpose from the movie side of things. Like Jenny Nicholson is like the girlfriend that just talks your ear off about like Evan. What's that movie? The musical Evan something or other. The one Dear Evan Hansen. She has a video where it's like 2 hours. She's just breaking down Dear Evan Hansen, and you're like, I love musicals. I don't really care about Dear Evan Hansen, but hearing her talk for 2 hours about this is just kind of engrossing. It's because it's a girlfriend that just sits and talks your ear off, and you like it, you know. So if a couple of people know who I'm talking about. Cool, yeah. Professor of Logic at the University of Science. Is that what she does? Cool, yeah. No, I like her. Yeah. This is what podcast is all about. Yeah, pretty much. Well, am I the friend the nerdy friend that talks to your ear about movies or whatever? If it serves a purpose, why not? That's why I still do these videos, right? Like I do the videos to keep the channel going, and I enjoy talking to you guys. I enjoy communicating because most of my friends would never let me talk about this for endlessly. They would be like, yeah, frame rate. I played a game on a CRT TV. It's a lot of fun. I'm like, okay. We can really start talking about frame rate here. Let's get into frame rate. Anyhow. Hey fella, hey Bullet Science, how you doing? Arseny asks, what about resolution? You're talking about the frame rate of the human eye. The frame rate, not frame rate of the human eye. I'm just going to spoil a little bit. Basically, the frame rate you need the frame rate you need to simulate reality is entirely based on resolution. Like kind of as you correctly point out, right? Resolution is so instead of going with a resolution, I just basically go with what's considered the limit of the human acuity, which is 1/60th of a degree, which is 1 arc minute, right? That's what we consider as the smallest thing that you can see is 1 arc minute. So depending on what and then from that you can derive what the necessary frame rate. So the other question is not only the resolution, is how fast. So the faster an object goes, the more frames. So you have an object going across your frame field of view, saying traveling, how fast, like traveling from one side to the next side in 1 second is how many degrees per second. So you figure out how many degrees per second, multiply it by 6. I should have done this in the video, but oh well. How many degrees per second multiplied by 60, and that's how many frames you need to create seamless, perfect motion, right? So if you're doing, like if I'm traveling 55 degrees in 1 second, that's essentially an IMAX theater. If you're traveling 55 degrees of field of view in 1 second, that's about 3,600 frames per second you need to create perfect motion, and that each frame will move it just enough that you barely will notice it move, just barely enough, right? But that's for 1 second. If you need to make it move like 55 degrees in half a second, 6,600 frames per second, you need to move it even higher. So 20,000 frames per second is really more like that'll probably cover most everything. Careful, Mr. Hess. What am I getting careful? What should I be careful about? I forget what am I doing? I'm never careful. Careful doesn't know me. I don't know what to think about this. I saw someone joke by saying that Disney would never race swap Tarzan. Well, what race is Tarzan? Okay, I get what you're saying. I don't know. Disney doesn't make movies. They just make product, right? I mean, it just like the magic is gone for Disney. It feels like. Who was the lady that in the YouTube video giving experts leeway? Not necessarily giving experts. She's also talking about like in her own read, like when she reads an article, and she's like, I gotta like give myself a pause and not try to nitpick every little damn thing. Let me find her YouTube. I'll give her YouTube channel a shout out because I think it's worth watching. Let's see. I know I saw it from String Theory, so I'm gonna go String Theory. Debunk maybe. Let's see if that comes up. String Theory. There it is. Her name is. Oh gosh.
This is a video about.
That's her voice. A Collier a Collier Astro. ACOLLIERASTRO. I'll just throw it on the screen real quick for you guys. Hey, that's me right there. Look at that. Look at that. All right. And here you can see her. Yep, that's her. A Collier Astro. So if you look up string theory lied to us and now science communication is hard. That's one of her videos. Yeah, now I'm going to have a lot of people go through my video, see all my recommendations, and then call me a crazy right-wing nut for watching videos that are not agreeing with the absolute far left thing. Although I actually don't think I'm that far right-wing. I'm very middle, which makes me a Nazi, pretty much. Arseny says, then why I see very fast things blurred, like wheels in baseball? Good question, Arseny. So, what will happen if you do 20,000 frames a second, right? Well, it'll blur, right? If you have an object move, it'll blur. Fine. But what happens if you track it with your eyes? If you saw something moving very fast across your screen, but if you track it with your eyes, if I'm tracking my hand moving very fast, does it blur? No, it doesn't. So there's the secret, right? So you need to have both. If you're not tracking it, blur. But if you track it, it needs to be sharp. There's your problem. So now 1,000 frames per second, you could probably, because the speed of things you can actually track with your hands, 1,000 frames a second is enough to kind of keep things sharp, right? Because but 1,000 frames a second is not enough when you just move it real fast across your shot, your eyes, right? Oh no, she's not right wing at all. No, she's at least center left, at least. I'm saying stuff I watch. The other stuff you see in the recommendations, you might think, oh, this guy's a Nazi. Yeah. Have you ever shot time lapse? I saw it done with motion blur. Is the shutter setting? Yes, I've shot time lapse before. There are theories. Well, there are some people that advocate that your time lapse should also maintain the 180 degree rule. So if you're doing a time lapse over, let's say each shot is 5 seconds apart, right? There's some people that would think that if each shot is 5 seconds apart, your exposure should be 2.5 seconds long, which, if you're out in the daylight, that's going to require you to put some serious ND filters on there in order to achieve that. I'm not a subscription of that. I don't subscribe to that necessarily because I feel like time lapses are so smooth or so slow moving that you don't necessarily need to follow the exact 180 degree rule for time lapses. Some people would argue that you do need to follow it. Example, I would say, let's say you're shooting traffic at night. I would prefer to have long streaking lights, as cars move, that kind of thing. I would like to see that actually. But anyhow, that's my thought on that. I get some more frame rate videos or frame rate questions. Do your eyes work in complete synchronization among them? No, they don't. So I'm not sure what you're asking, but fill me in because I want to see if I hit that. Oh, I don't know. You're wearing a polo shirt. You have a flag on your desk. You wrap a sweater around your shoulders. You're pretty much screwed. I'm not right wing front. Yeah, exactly. No, I'm center, which means I'm far right. You guys know that, right? I have a very center personality. I'm very moderate, which means I'm literally Hitler. I'm literally Hitler, guys. Literally, you guys are all. I'm literally Hitler. You guys are all watching literally Hitler, because I'm very moderate. No, it means I'm literally Hitler. Have I ever watched The House I Live In, a short film from 1940 starring Frank Sinatra and A Message Against Prejudice? No, I've not. Frank Sinatra did a lot of those. He did A Man with the Golden Arm, was about drugs. Who thought you'd do a movie about, I think it was about heroin, right? I never saw it. Rigel says, I've been watching classic Doctor Who. Why is it the norm that people would use video on sets and film outside? Oh, good question. So, because I think video was, that's a great question. I don't know why they wouldn't have used film indoors. I think it was probably because it was cheaper. That's probably why. The sets and the TV studios already had the video cameras. They just used the videotape indoors. Maybe that's why. That's a good question. Why didn't they use Why didn't they shoot the interiors with film? I don't think it was. I don't think it was a matter that the film was more could expose better. I don't think so. I think it was just a matter of the fact that the video cameras were already there in the TV studios. They just used the TV studio video cameras. Great question. I love that question. That's intriguing. Because you know what? I was watching. I don't want to bring down. My mom's not been doing too well. But I've been at her place, and her Chinese channel keeps going in and out. So I turn it to like Me TV, which Me TV plays a lot of old shows. I've never watched The Streets of San Francisco. Never watched it in my life. I didn't realize it had Carl Malden on there and Michael Douglas. I like, whoa, this show is Carl Malden and Michael Douglas. Damn, this is actually a pretty high dollar show, or a pretty cool show. So I was watching that show, and obviously shot on film. Obviously, the whole thing has got that filmic look to it. Very gritty 70s shot on film kind of look. And all the interiors on that are shot on film. So I guess, shooting on film for an interior wasn't impossible. I think it's just the fact is they shot it at the studio, and the studio had video cameras. You can't shoot video outside because back in those days you needed a lot of infrastructure to get video cameras to work. So they didn't have, they could have used the video camera with the tape thing. It was just easier to shoot with film outdoors. It wasn't until much further along, like in the 70s, that shooting, on location with video would make better sense. Yeah, in the Trump supporting area I lived in, a California centrist is far left. Well, yeah, some people would say I am far left too. Yeah, some people even in California too would say I'm far left. Yeah, you couldn't film interiors with film live. Yeah. But I don't know, shows like Doctor Who, that wasn't shot. That wasn't shown live, was it? It was shown. That was episodic, right? Or maybe it was. I don't know. I don't know anything about Doctor Who. Because of telecine? Yeah, but they shot like Streets of San Francisco has lots of interiors, but then Streets of San Francisco was 70s, so maybe 60s. Maybe that's a problem. Well, I guess with 60s, like that era of videotape. I mean, I'm thinking it from the videotape technology in the 60s. I don't think was portable enough to be outdoors, so you had to shoot exteriors with film. You had to, but indoors, you could shoot it on tape. Good question. If you make a video, there's a Python sketch where they're in the meeting and they realize the building is surrounded by film. Huh, interesting. I don't think I've seen that sketch. Arsene asked, do you need some legal work to shoot documentary with real people? Not really. I mean, you want to get yourself your basic standard release forms. Just like have them fill out a release form saying, hey, I want to be in a documentary. And honestly, I've been kind of bad about doing that recently because a lot of stuff I do is like, well, you're not going to complain because you're the subject of the documentary. It's your company, so you're not going to sue yourself. But yeah, for a documentary, you should probably get image release, likeness release, whatever, model releases. They're pretty boilerplate. Just say like, hey, I'm agreed to be filmed for this documentary. That's all you need. I mean, that's not all you need for like the person on camera. But if for other story, look, the thing is like the public figures, you can make a documentary about a public figure. Maybe for private figures, you can, as long as you kind of stay within the realm of provable truth, you could probably be okay. Yep, Star Trek was shot on film. Yep, but Star Trek TNG was much later. I think Star Trek the original series TOS was also shot on film too. Gentlemen, I have bad news. This room is surrounded by film. Huh? I gotta check that out. I'll check it out after I get off here. Filmmaker, I always figured the UK TV shot film outside because cameras were lighter and more durable. Yeah. I think that's why, because at least in the early years, right? Because videotape, remember the quad tape was the first videotape that came out in 1958, but the quad tape was this thick, right? And they had big giant spools of it. They were like, massive spools of tape you can't shoot that outdoors. You can't carry that thing with you. Even 3/4 tape, back in the earliest video cameras that were on location cameras, you'd have a camera and the camera would have a wire to it, a long like umbilical cord to another dude who would stand there holding the tape deck, right? Because that's how big the tapes were. So yeah, it's a long, shooting on tape wasn't really practical until the 70s with the umbilical cord tape. And if you're so maybe in the 60s, it probably was impractical. The question I always ask, why wouldn't you shoot film indoors? Like, why don't you just match the outdoors with the indoor film cameras? I think that's better because they just had the studio and they had the video, and it was like, it's cheaper. So I even see YouTubers do the consent forms with their prank. Yeah, they technically have to, I think. That's why you see on those prank videos, like a lot of people have their faces like blurred out. It's because they didn't get their consent, and that could be problematic. There probably is there is relative leeway as far as showing somebody in a public place. Even if it's part of a prank video, it's like, oh, I'm in a public, you're on the street and you happen to be, in the prank. There's probably, if you're not like materially involved, you probably don't need to blur it out, but it's one of those things where you just blur it out and you save yourself the time and you look more professional, blah, blah, blah. So on a globe, far left and far right is not exactly as far as it sounds. Yeah, it's true. It's true unless you're literally Hitler like I am. Literally Hitler. Literally. TNG was remastered. Yeah, I think it was, wasn't it? Technology Connections, a good video on tape versus film. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I love that channel. Although I haven't watched it recently a lot. I do support it on Patreon. If you want to support me on Patreon, go ahead. I mean, I don't do a whole lot on Patreon, though. But yeah, his stuff has lately been a little bit too much, too much on hair dryers and stuff like that. Although the girl I was talking about she was watching his channel too. So we're all watching each other's channels. Everybody's watching each other's channels. It's all good. Her name is Collier Astro. Or is it A Collier? Yeah, A Collier Astro. Anyhow. Let's see. What did I put up there? This reminds me of a funny clip I saw in early digital cinema. 85% sure Fincher was annoyed because early red camera was designed so you couldn't review footage on set. Oh my God. Really? Why would he do that? Oh, there you go. Rick is blasting powder and powder coating parts for the Corolla. Sweet. Well, you're here now, Rick. There you go. In the 80s, you could buy a sound Super 8 for $150, and the film processing was under $10. VHS was close to $1,000. Minimum wage was $3.35. Yep. Well, but Super 8 wouldn't have been quality enough for TV production. You need at least 16 millimeter, right? And then the cameras, the video cameras were already there, so they didn't need to buy them with the studio. Yeah. Arsene, do you think it's possible to record good audio on an iPhone? Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I've heard that a lot of ADR sessions, especially during the pandemic, they did some ADR sessions were done using an iPhone, just recording it through an iPhone with an iPhone and just dumping it onto the session from the actor's own house. Good audio is one of those things where it's not as hard as it sounds or looks. It's really about proximity and microphone placement. And if you get that right, you get 95% there. And the rest is tweaking stuff, making certain things sound richer and bolder. But interesting. Bullet Sign says early Red were terrible. Their film insurance wouldn't sign off until 2 were on set to the high. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, overheating, crashing. I've heard about that. Took a while for them to shake that reputation. When I was first starting off in this sphere of internet filmmaking, talking, whatever, we were so inundated with Red fanboys. Like, I was never a Red fanboy because I was always like, I'm a video nerd. I'm always video. I've always been a fan of video, HD, video cameras. I never a huge digital cinema nerd. I was more a video nerd. And man, oh man, these some of on MySpace, these guys like Red was just so insufferably talked about insufferably. We had one guy named Andrew, and on the forums. See, this is what I miss about forums. You get to know everybody on the forum, kind of build a community. But he had this idea that he was trying to make his movie. He would always talk so much about how he's going to make his movie. I'm going to make my movie. I need the funding. I had the most brilliant ideas, but I need the funding. And his idea was shoot the scene with, get this right, he wanted to shoot a scene with 11 cameras operating at the same time. How brilliant is that? 11 cameras was his idea. He wanted a wide shot, like a medium shot, close-up shot, reverse close-up shot, and he wanted 3 cameras on steady cams going at the same time. Like, are you kidding me? Holy moly. Yeah, that was MySpace, man. Do Harry microphones help from the wind? Yes, they do. They're called wind socks, whatever they call them. They're for wind protection. How do I feel about many early digital films shot with a 360 video? Bizarre. Also have happened in big Hollywood productions Hollywood productions. Oh, a 360 degree. Yeah, 360 degree. A lot of people think that the movies were shot in something other than film, like that shutter speed, the look of the motion blur, sort of, because video is 360 degree shutter. Video has always been the old theory is 180 degree rule, but the 180 degree rule when you're shooting 60i is to shoot at 1/60th of a second, which is really 360 degrees rule. But people think it's a 180 degree rule because 60i is technically 29.97, which is not quite true, but it is true. One of those things where. But anyhow, video was always shot with 360, so that's why it didn't look very appropriate. That's why like movies like Public Enemy with Johnny Depp look like weird because it just looks terrible. Was his last name Wachowski? No. He never. I don't think he ever made his movie. The Harry Boom cover is called a Dick Dead Cat. Yeah, and Rode microphones is called a Dead Wombat. I know that because they were a sponsor at one point. The Dead Wombat. 11 cameras was possible with mobile phones. You're absolutely right, but he wanted 11 red cameras and red 1 cameras. Red 1 cameras. Of course. He wanted the red 1. Of course he wanted 11 of them. All of them. Give me all the cameras. Film, video, digital, all completely different formats in my opinion. Each have their advantages. Yeah, but it's starting to blur. It's starting to blur a lot. Like you can't really tell if a movie's shot on film or if it's shot on digital unless it's like pushing the limits of that particular format. Like you can get digital to look kind of like film, and you get film to look kind of like digital, but unless you really push them out there. Have I watched a nitrate film print? No, I haven't. I've gotten a real great interpretation for fine grain and image that really glows on the big screen. Yeah, cool. Yeah, on the downside, highly flammable. Yeah, highly inflammable or flammable. They're both mean the same thing, right? We've all seen what's that movie? Inglourious Bastards. So you need 22. There you go. That's a good point. You need 22 red ones in order for insurance to cover it. I mean, at that point, you just say, well, I've got 11 cameras, and technically, I have 6 cameras, or you get 12 cameras, and I have 6 cameras, technically, but I'm going to run them all the time, in case a couple of them, I don't know, it's stupid. Yep. You can shoot a film on a phone now, all about framing, content, story, and composition. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the thing I have right now with my emotional state here, because I'm still kind of super depressed, but I'm trying to get out of it and trying to like push myself to do some more filming and more projects. So it's like, watching Neil Breen movies really does make you realize that you don't need a whole lot to make a movie. Like, if Neil Breen can make a movie, why can't I? Have I ever seen a creation of the humanoids? Nope. I have to check it out. Like creation of the humanoids. Let me look it up real quick. Creation of the humanoids. With Don Doolittle, Eric Elliott, Francis McCann, Don McGowan. The survivors of a nuclear holocaust fuse man with machine, creating cyborgs to assist in the rebuilding of society. However, when the blue-skinned... Okay, we finish the blurb here. Where's the blurb? However, when the blue-skinned androids seem to be taking over modern society, the Order of Flesh and Blood will stop at nothing to save the remnants of humanity. That sounds kind of fun. I'd check that out. All right, let's go. There's a new corridor where they break down Watchmen, where actor for Mr. Manhattan wears blue LEDs, and then it'll be impossible to shoot on digital because of RGB. Sure. Would it be impossible though? I mean, yeah. It depends on the specific formulation of the RGB, because you can shoot RGB fine. You can shoot blue LEDs fine on a camera. You might have to put a certain filter on it though. I know some digital cameras do kind of go a little bit gross on when you shine certain kinds of blue light on them, blue LEDs. They can kind of go a little nasty, but you can shoot, with the proper filters. You can probably get it right, because the blue LED clips pixels, sure. But then again, it depends on the blue. It depends on the type of a blue. Again, you could maybe put like a heavier filter on it to try to protect it. I mean, you'd obviously do experiments, but I don't think it's impossible to do. What else are we saying here? All right. Well, cool. No, yeah. I don't think I don't think anything's impossible. Because obviously you can get blue to light. You can light people blue. And I've shot RGB. I shot blue LEDs, and they're fine. They don't necessarily clip anything. But yeah, I mean, it also depends on the camera too. Like a lot of camera can get a little bit too crazy. Let's see what people are saying. It's about the color channels on the digital center. No red or green information makes it clip. Using film rounds off the clipping. Yeah. Well, I think you could probably, if you put some sort of filter on it, you could probably tap it down a little bit. No red or green. I'm trying to think. If there's a way to do it. Huh. Green? No green in it? Is that what you're saying? Because of the absence of green? Because of the Bayer pattern or something like that? Perhaps. I'll bet you there's a way though. I don't think it's that. I just don't think it's that simple. I think probably problems. I think Corridor sometimes oversteps their understanding a little bit, but they are better at 3D stuff than that. Have I watched Boardwalk Empire? It's overshadowed by the overrated GOT. Now I hear almost nothing about GOT, and Boardwalk Empire is absolutely unforgettable. I have not. I need to go back and watch it. I was trying to watch Severance on Apple Plus. I got into it. I just feel it's a little slow. And I don't know where they're kind of going with it. And then I need to finish watching Silo next couple videos. I have to watch the video on blue screen versus green screen. Is that the video that they have? I didn't do a video on green screen versus blue. I think green is much easier for modern cameras, obviously, because green is right in the middle of the spectrum, and it has our sensors are so much more familiar or sensitive to green than anything else. But blue's been used by television studios forever for doing weather broadcasts and stuff like that. So I don't think blue's impossible. But anyhow, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. I forgot what it was. Very important. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I kind of wanted to do this, but I don't know if I had the time or energy or effort to do this. But I wanted to go back and look at everything. Every time some YouTube video says, this changes everything. I want to find like old videos where the title's like, this changes everything. And see if it really does change everything. See if it does change everything. I think blue is for film, green is for video. Could be wrong. Well, go back and look at all the news stations that have blue screens. Like all the news, all the weather channels were all blue screens. And those weren't shot on film. That's video. So I think the thing with, I mean, blue is different because blue's wavelength is way up here. Like what you don't, when you look at a graph of red, green, and blue, like if you look at the response to the eye, blue is way up here. The blue cones are way over here, and then green and red are kind of overlapping, actually. You know, green is in the middle, but it overlaps largely with red, and blue is kind of very separate. So I think the theory might be that if you do blue screen, blue is way over here. It's very far away from the flesh tones, which is green and red. There's obviously a little bit blue in the flesh tone, but it's way over here. Now, green, however, for video makes a lot of sense because the Bayer pattern of a digital sensor is mostly green, and we use green as the substitute for luma, right? So there's at least twice as many green pixels as there are red and blue pixels. So it makes sense for green, right? So that's what I'm thinking. Rio says, I usually block channels that just suggest something changes everything. Yeah, that's the thing. I think, yeah, I'm bouncing between two subjects now, right? People that say, like, this changes everything, it never does. Never does it? Never does change everything. It's always just like, well, you know, it's a new tool that we use, and it doesn't change everything because everything's still kind of the same. We just do it a little bit faster. Anyhow. Severance gave you a headache, Nabila? Yeah. I know Severance does. Yeah, I don't know if I like it that much. It's just it's also kind of a mystery box video show. I think it's like I kind of want to know what the mystery box is, but I'm worried that the show is just going to be nothing but mystery boxes, like Lost was. I guess I never watched Lost, but it's like it's mystery box all the way down, all the way to the bottom. A large YouTube channel I used to write for would do these prediction videos for upcoming films and stuff. I suggest a series where they go back and see what predictions came to be and what didn't. They didn't get the idea at all. Yeah, never do that. Changes their ad revenue from the CTR. I don't know, CTR. I'm not sure what that is. But this changes everything, guys. It changes everything. Like, yeah. As Eli, the computer guy, said, inertia is a hell of a powerful force. Yep, gravity will do a lot for you. Bullet Science says, when calibrating sensors for multicam shoots for white balance color shift, I would stay away from green and only adjust the red and blue compensate. Assuming the green isn't worth it. Interesting point. That's one thing I haven't really done a lot of is trying to balance cameras. Even for my live shoots, because I end up just color balancing them in post anyways. So I never really mess with them on during live sessions. Oh, click-through rate, CTR. There you go. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I don't know. I've gotten to the point, too, in my life where I feel like everything I watch is sort of just repeating what I either already believe, what I understand, or it just feels masturbatory a lot, what I'm hearing. I'm still looking for new stuff, like new ideas. I like to be surprised, but a lot of stuff I watch is like, I kind of knew what your opinion was going into it. I like hearing different stuff. I like hearing like, whoa, I didn't think about that before. Yeah, GOL says, Lost was a masterpiece for 3 seasons. Funny, it was originally intended only to be 3 seasons. Exactly. Yeah, I never watched Lost. I never got into it, so yeah, Lost from me. I need to go back and watch Breaking Bad too, because I never got through the first couple episodes. Just wasn't into it yet. Sometimes it takes a while to warm up to a show, you know. How long have I been on? I've been on for like almost 2 hours here. Anything else we want to say? Network made the continue. There you go. Network is also a great movie. Lost is a symbol of lost time. Lost its way. There you go. Very well done, folks. Thank you all for that. I got to figure out what to do for dinner. I'm going to go to my friend's house. I'm going to see if I can get Spirit. The Spirit. I wonder, where is the Spirit playing? I wonder if it's on one of my channels. Spirit. I can watch it on Apple TV. Oh, there you go. You can pull it on Apple TV. We can watch it there. Yeah, Spirit is definitely a movie I think we should watch with my friends. Our bad movie night. Even though I think it's a hilarious movie. It's an absolute freaking hilarious movie. Anyhow, on a different note, thank you for asking a different note. Most people went to the theater due to a group social activity rather than the love of the art. How do you grab mass audiences with film like No Hard Feeling? How do you grab mass audiences with a film like No Hard Feeling? I think No Hard Feeling is sort of, it's not a love of the art movie. I think it's more of a date movie. You know, No Hard Feelings is, I think it's probably works fine as a group social activity because it's a fun comedy. You know, I wouldn't consider it like an art movie by any stretch of the imagination. So, The Walking Dead has the same problem. I saw the ad for the new Walking Dead spin-off now. It's like, come on, enough of The Walking Dead. Enough of that stuff. Any news on the documentary studios? I've been thinking about Universal a lot. I've been wanting to go back and write one. I just wanted to make sure I get a couple more videos. I need to go back and actually make videos. It's just been a while. Studio videos take a long time because they're so intensely researched and all that. Although I think maybe I just got to cut back a little bit on the research and just be a little more, just don't worry about the critics and just, tell it, even if it's a superficial story, not necessarily superficial, but some of these stories people don't know anything about. You know, like United Artists is a story that I don't think anybody knows about. That's the thing. So I think I just need to go. I just need to tell the story because I think that even the superficial version of the United Artists story is way more than what most people get out there. So when do we like to see it? Probably in a few months because it's going to take me a while to write it. But I'll get the frame rate video out next week. That's my plan. Yeah, it used to be Woody Allen and rom-coms in theaters, but now it's mostly in streaming. Well, that's what No Hard Feelings is, So let me show you, tell you what's playing in my movie theater. And I think right now it's kind of an interesting eclectic mix of stuff. So right now in my theater we have, and I'm in California, but I'm not in LA, so I'm not very, very close. But we've got No Hard Feelings, Asteroid City, The Flash, Elementals, Transformers, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Boogeyman, Boogeyman, The Boogeyman, God is a Bullet is playing a little further away, The Blackening, Little Mermaid, Fast X, that's in Hemet, that's a little ways away, Guardians of the Galaxy still playing, and that's the one near me. So it's an eclectic mix. It's got you got a kind of a artsy, Asteroid City, kind of an artsy movie. You got a kids movie, Elemental, stupid Transformers movie. Spider-Man Across the Universe, which is artistically interesting, and a horror movie, and a comedy. It's actually a pretty rounded mix, honestly. I gotta go for that. No one ever had a good date after a bad movie? I don't know. I kind of feel like you could have a good date if you're laughing at it. You're talking about how horrible it was after the date. Yeah. Maybe you just need to find the right girl. Or boy, I don't know. Studio videos are always depressing. None of them ended well. Yeah, I know. That's why I do them in the film noir style, because film noirs are always depressing, right, at the end. I always treat them as sort of like the studio videos sort of like, that's why I do film noir style with them, because I feel like they're more like, so when I was growing up, cable channels used to be about what they were about. Like the History Channel was about history. They'd have history shows. I don't know, it's a weird idea, right? But anyhow, on A&E, they used to have this thing called City Confidential. And literally that's what I'm stealing the idea from. the City Confidential always had this one guy, and he was always telling you stories about these cities and like the dirty laundry of these cities. But he always sounded like this. I don't mean offensive here. Is this like this homosexual man, like telling you this, but he'd be talking like this. You see, you know, Rebecca didn't come from a small town. No, indeed she did not. She came from a rich city, and she didn't know what the mean. She'd never met a beau she didn't find attractive, if you get my drift. Is that very southern kind of, wink and a nod voiceover. I just love doing it. Beatrice came to New Orleans looking for fame and fortune, but little did she know she'd find it at the end of a whiskey bottle. And it wasn't until she was found dead on the side of the street did every resident of the town know her by her first name. I love that. I just love that. And City Confidential. And I didn't watch it religiously, but I watched a few episodes when I was a kid, and I just adored that style. And there's a little bit of that in the studio's videos. You don't have to keep apologizing for leaving. It's okay. Yeah. The Learning Channel is about non-conforming American families, in other words, weirdos. Yeah, Batman and Indiana Jones are both in the cinema again. All right. Cinema with all the sequels have become like Groundhog Day. It's not that I don't like sequels. It's that sequels need to have a reason. Like Godfather 2 is a great sequel. There's a lot of great sequels. The problem is they're just not trying. They're not trying anymore. I should try acting. Well, I get a lot of people saying I should just not act at all, ever. Don't do it. Don't ever do it. Don't ever do it. Although I did try out for like there's one role, like they were asking for like people to audition, and I was like, hey, I'll come audition for your movie. They're like, no, don't come to the audition. Don't. No, you're just too ugly. No, you're too ugly. I haven't seen a damn movie in years. Well, you should see some damn movies. Watch some damn movies. Anyhow, I suddenly feel a need for a mint julep. As Barbara once said before she was brutally murdered that fateful night in January of 1946. And suddenly she was taken down, and the whole world knew her name was Beatrice, for that was the name carved in blood on this, like that. Yeah, love that stuff. Like I'm just improvising and I can't do it justice, but anyhow. All right, well, I'm sorry, Arimo. I'm going to have to leave for a while because I'm getting tired and I got to figure out what to make for dinner. So thanks for all hanging out. I will try to make a video. I have the video shot. I'll try to edit and have it done this week. This week's going to start getting busy. My July is starting to get busy, but I'm going to go for it, man. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go and try to make some stuff because I need to, because I can't sit around feeling sorry for myself and feeling bad. I got to go make something. I got to make something. Should I make something good? I don't know. Should I make something average? No. What should I do? Dang it. I know. I'll make something great. Oh my God, that was so corny. I need to be a father because I'm full of dad jokes. I'm terrible. All right. Thanks for hanging out with me. I wish I were a movie critic. I'm not a movie critic. I'm a terrible movie critic. I'm a terrible human being. I'm terrible. I'm worse than Hitler, people. That's all I have for today. So we'll see you next week, but hopefully we'll see you this week with a new video. And to that, I'm going to say sayonara. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll talk with you later. Fade to black.